Hello and welcome to Investment Insight. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Now let's break down what's happening in the markets today in a clear and simple way. Today, we are taking a deep dive into an absolutely massive shift in the technology sector as of July 2026.
It really is a complete game changer.
Right. Because for the last 3 years, the tech giants have spent billions upon billions of dollars trying to answer just one single question, which was, who has the smartest AI?
Yeah, it was a total arms race for raw brain power.
Exactly. But looking at recent data, the rules of this AI gold rush have completely changed. The battleground has shifted away from pure intelligence.
It has. We are watching the era of a winner-takes-all market one, based purely on having the highest IQ model fade right before our eyes.
Which is wild to think about.
It really is. The competition is no longer just about who can score the absolute highest on some, standardized intelligence test. The market has matured.
Yeah.
Now it's about price, speed, the surrounding software ecosystem, and honestly, just sheer capital.
And if you are an everyday American investor, maybe looking at your 401k or trying to figure out where the tech market is heading, this is exactly what we are going to explore today. We're going to figure out what this shift means for you and your portfolio.
Especially right now.
Right, especially now, in the current economic environment under the Trump administration, where corporate spending, efficiency, and interest rates are really under a microscope. Businesses are relentlessly optimizing their tech budgets.
They have to. They don't have a choice.
Exactly. Because of that, the smartest AI might not actually be the most profitable one to invest in. So to start us off, let's look at why the rules changed in the first place. Looking at the analysis, it seems the top AI models are essentially tied in a dead heat.
Yeah, the performance gap at the very top of the market has basically evaporated. If we look at the Artificial Intelligence Index, which tracks these metrics, the leading models are in a statistical photo finish.
Yeah, the numbers are crazy close.
Right. Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 Max scored 60 points on the Intelligence Index, and then OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol Max scored 59 points.
So we are talking about a single point difference. I mean, for the average corporate client, a 1-point difference on a benchmark test is totally meaningless in the real world.
It is entirely negligible. You wouldn't even notice it. But here is the mechanism that is actually driving the market shift.
Yeah.
GPT 5.6 Sol costs about 1/3 of the price of Claude Fable 5.
Wow, 1/3.
Yeah, a massive discount. And in highly specific areas, the cheaper model actually wins. On the Coding Agent Index, for example, GPT 5.6 Sol took first place with a score of 80 points.
Oh, wow.
So this whole paradigm of needing one massive omnipotent model that does everything perfectly, it's just breaking down. The strategic advantage now depends entirely on matching the specific task to the right model.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if these top-tier models are nearly identical in general intelligence, doesn't this just become a massive race to the bottom for price?
That's the big fear, yeah.
Like, if I need a corporate contract summarized and a cheaper model does it just as well as the premium model, I'm taking the cheaper one every single time. It's like buying medicine at the pharmacy.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. If the generic brand cures your headache exactly like the expensive name brand, you're going to buy the cheaper one. You don't need a Ferrari just to drive to the grocery store.
That is the exact calculation enterprise clients are making right now. They do not want to pay premium prices for everyday tasks like summarizing emails or, routing basic customer service tickets or formatting spreadsheets.
It just doesn't make financial sense.
No, it doesn't. And OpenAI recognized this commoditization happening and responded by fragmenting their own product line. They released GPT 5.6 in 3 distinct pricing tiers to capture every level of that demand.
Let's break those tiers down because the pricing strategy here is really telling.
Yeah, so they instituted Sol, Terra, and Luna. Sol is the premium tier. It costs $5 per million input tokens and $30 per million output tokens.
Okay, so that's the Ferrari.
Exactly. Then you have Terra, the middle ground, at $2.50 for input and $15 for output. And finally, they introduced Luna, the economy option, which drops all the way down to $1 for input and $6 for output.
So by actively slicing up their own product, they are essentially acknowledging that AI is becoming a utility.
Yes. We are seeing a direct parallel to the early days of cloud computing. Think back to when AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud were fighting for dominance.
Right. It was all about who had the fastest servers.
Exactly. But once everyone had the basic reliable features, companies stopped choosing based on pure technical specs. The decision became about price, stability, and security.
Uh,
OpenAI's three-tier system is designed for a concept called routing.
Right, routing.
Yeah, they are building systems where a company's software automatically uses the cheap Luna model for easy, everyday tasks and only routes the problem to the expensive Sol model when the task actually requires complex reasoning.
Okay, so let's look at the friction involved here. Because if the models are becoming cheaper, practically identical, and companies are just routing tasks to whatever is cheapest, how do these AI companies stop their customers from jumping ship?
That is the million-dollar question.
I mean, if a competitor releases a cheaper economy model next week, what keeps a company loyal to OpenAI or Anthropic?
Well, the strategy shifts from building the smartest model to building the highest walls around your ecosystem. They're trying to create what the industry calls workflow stickiness.
Making it actively painful to walk out the door.
Exactly.
Because looking at the data, Anthropic went heavily on the defensive to build this stickiness. They recently extended a massive promotional offer for Claude Fable 5.
Yeah, that was a huge move.
Right. They basically gave their Pro, Max, Team, and some enterprise users up to 50% of their weekly usage completely for free, and they extended this until July 19th.
And you have to consider the financial reality of that move. Running these frontier models costs an absolute fortune in computing power.
It's not cheap.
Not at all. Giving away half of your enterprise weekly usage means Anthropic is burning through cash reserves at an astonishing rate. They aren't doing this out of generosity.
Right, it's a defensive blockade.
Yes. They want to prevent their users from testing out GPT 5.6 and potentially realizing the cheaper OpenAI model works just fine.
So they are eating massive short-term losses to lock in the daily habits. It's like the Apple ecosystem.
Oh, that's a perfect comparison.
Yeah, once you have the iPhone, the Mac, and the Apple Watch, switching to an Android is a massive headache because all your passwords and apps are synced. AI companies are doing the same thing.
That ecosystem lock-in is the ultimate goal here. Once a corporate client builds their internal security protocols and their daily workflows around Claude-specific toolsets, the switching costs become just prohibitive.
Yeah, it's just too much work to leave.
Right. Anthropic is prioritizing long-term user habits over short-term profit margins because they know the intelligence advantage is gone.
But while the American giants, OpenAI and Anthropic are fighting this fierce, expensive battle over premium enterprise clients, there's a massive wave of pressure coming from the bottom of the market.
A huge wave.
And it's making AI even cheaper than OpenAI's Luna tier.
Yeah. The wild card fundamentally altering the economics of this space is the rise of open-weight models, particularly those coming out of China. They are relentlessly dragging the pricing floor downward.
Let's talk about the specific data point here. Recent analysis highlights a Chinese open-weight model called GLM 5.2, developed by a company named ZAI,
Right.
and it scored a 51 on the intelligence index. Now, 51 isn't the 60 that Claude Fable 5 scored, but for a supposedly free model, 51 is incredibly capable for most mid-level business tasks.
It is surprisingly capable, yeah.
It boasts a 1 million token context window, meaning you can feed it massive books of data at once. But what really stands out is its architecture.
Yes, the architecture is key.
The data says it uses a 753 billion total parameter, but only 40 billion active parameter MOE structure. Plus, it has an MIT license for commercial use.
We really need to unpack that MOE structure because that is the technological secret weapon allowing these models to be so cheap.
Yeah, let's explain that.
MOE stands for a mixture of experts. In a traditional, dense AI model, every single artificial neuron fires every time you ask it a question.
okay.
So if you ask a dense model to solve a simple math problem, its language neurons, its coding neurons, its logic neurons, all of them activate, burning massive amounts of electricity.
Which is incredibly inefficient.
Highly inefficient.
Yeah.
But a mixture of experts model works differently. Think of it like a massive global corporation. The model has 753 billion employees on the payroll. Those are the total parameters.
Okay, I follow.
But when you ask it a math question, a router network inside the AI only wakes up the accounting department.
I see.
Right, the 40 billion active parameters trained specifically for math. The other 700 plus billion parameters stay asleep. This mechanism drastically reduces the computing power needed to generate an answer.
Which is how ZAI can offer such a massive context window so cheaply. That makes perfect sense. It's targeted processing. But I want to step in and clarify a major misconception for you, the listener, regarding these open models, because Business Insider noted that GLM 5.2 is being viewed as a free-like alternative.
Yeah, that phrasing is a bit tricky.
Wait, a lot of people think this model is totally free, but looking at the data, that's not exactly true, right?
No, it's not. The term open weight creates a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
The underlying code, the weights of the model, is free to download. A corporation could download GLM 5.2 and run it on their own private servers. But if you are a business that doesn't want to build a multi-million-dollar private data center, you have to access the model via an API.
The digital bridge.
Exactly, the bridge connecting their AI to your software.
Yeah.
And accessing that API still costs money. For GLM 5.2, the API cost is about $1.40 for input and $4.40 for output.
So it's incredibly cheap, but you are still paying for the compute.
Yes, and utilizing these open models comes with structural trade-offs. You often deal with slower response times or tight capacity
You
limits,
get what you pay for.
basically. But the broader economic impact is undeniable. It forces the price floor down. A Fortune 500 company might use a premium model for drafting sensitive legal contracts, but they will route massive, low-level tasks like translating thousands of basic customer reviews to these cheaper open-weight models.
So if ZAI is actively undercutting Anthropic's pricing floor, Anthropic's strategy of eating short-term losses to keep users sticky suddenly looks incredibly risky.
Very risky.
I mean, how long can any of these companies physically afford to do that when the underlying costs of AI are so high?
This brings us to the core financial reality of the AI industry. It's all about the crippling cost of inference and the necessity of having incredibly deep pockets.
Let's break down inference, because I think a lot of people misunderstand where the money actually goes in artificial intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. The public perception is that the expensive part of AI is training the model, gathering the data, running the supercomputers for months.
Right, teaching the AI how to think.
Yeah. And while training does cost tens of millions of dollars, it is a fixed, one-time cost. The true, ongoing financial drain is inference.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because inference is essentially the physical cost every single time someone asks the AI a question.
Right.
I like to explain it like buying a printer. The printer itself, the training is a one-time cost, but it's the ink cartridges, the inference, that bankrupt you.
That is exactly what it's like. Every single time a user types a prompt, a server somewhere has to wake up, use massive amounts of electricity, run high-end GPUs, and trigger industrial liquid cooling systems so the data center doesn't melt.
The cost of the ink will eventually eclipse the cost of the printer.
And to manage these astronomical inference costs, the major players are fundamentally changing how they bill their users.
How so?
Well, OpenAI, for example, has started charging users specifically for cache writes, but they offer a 90% discount on cache reads.
Okay, let's explain the mechanics of caching so we understand why that saves money.
Sure, when you upload a massive 100-page PDF to an AI, the AI has to process and memorize all that new information into a short-term memory.
Okay.
That initial processing requires a lot of computing power that is a cache write. But if you then spend the next hour asking 50 different questions about that same PDF, the AI doesn't need to reread the document.
It just remembers it.
Right, it accesses a short-term memory. That is a cache read. By offering a 90% discount on reads, OpenAI is financially incentivizing users to stay in long, continuous sessions.
Because it saves OpenAI massive amounts of hardware processing power.
Exactly.
They're desperately trying to pass the true hardware costs down to the heaviest users. And when we look at the broader financial markets, the scale of these hardware costs is just staggering.
It's hard to even comprehend.
Right. Reports from Reuters and MarketWatch show a literal capital war breaking out in the corporate debt markets right now. AI-related corporate bond issuance has jumped 99% in just 1 year.
That's a massive spike.
And analysts expect it to hit $270 billion by 2026. And the total global AI debt issuance could reach $570 billion. We are seeing the big hyperscalers, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, Oracle, and Microsoft issuing massive amounts of debt just to fund AI infrastructure.
And that scale reveals a harsh truth about the future of this industry. Independent AI research labs cannot afford this ink on their own.
They just don't have the cash.
They don't.
Well,
They do not have the hundreds of billions of dollars required to build the physical data centers, secure the power contracts, and lay the fiber optic cables. Because of this, independent labs must partner with the massive tech platforms that already own the infrastructure.
So what does this all mean? Bringing this all together for you, the beginner investor looking at the market right now. We've covered dropping software prices, massive debt, and workflow stickiness. How do you actually use this information?
Well, your strategy really needs to align with your investment timeline. If you are a short-term investor looking at a 1 to 3 month horizon, You get distracted by launch news. You have to ignore the flashy PR announcements.
Right, a new model scoring 1 point higher is just noise.
Exactly. Instead, you need to look at the dollar per performance metrics and their OPI margins.
Are they actually making money on the prompts or just eating the cost?
Right. Now, if you are a longer-term investor looking at a 6 to 18-month horizon, your focus must be on cost structures. You need to monitor how fast token prices are dropping compared to the underlying physical costs.
Because if the software prices are falling faster than the hardware costs are decreasing, that's a profitability crisis.
That's a huge red flag.
Which means the real winners might not be the model makers at all. It's like the gold rush.
Ugh.
Don't bet on the guys digging for gold. Invest in the people selling the shovels, the pickaxes, and the Levi's jeans.
I agree completely. The winner-takes-all dynamic is dying for the AI models, but it's getting stronger for the infrastructure platforms.
The cloud providers, the semiconductor makers building the GPUs, the power grids.
Yes. Capital and deployment ecosystems are the ultimate mode. The platform you run the AI on is where the massive, durable value is being captured.
It completely reframes how we need to look at tech investments going forward. The era of pure intelligence is over, and the era of infrastructure has begun.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to a final provocative thought for you to chew on. If the future is mixing and matching cheap and expensive AI, will the next trillion-dollar company be an AI middleman? A silent router that instantly switches your prompt between 10 different models in the blink of an eye just to save half a cent.
It's definitely something to think about.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.